And we are live here at Lax Philly Live. Welcome. We are very happy to have you here with us. And I am very, very happy to see that I have Sean Slade over in Regina, Saskatchewan with us. I have Sue Walton with us over in Toronto. Is it, Sue?
You bet.
Oh, there we go. Good old Toronto. And I am in North York, just a little suburb of Toronto, the little city that could, if you ask Mel. And here we go. We had a interesting week, guys. We had a very interesting week in games last week. Why don't we pick up with? Shall we start with the Toronto game? Toronto and Buffalo. An interesting game. I think the cops stopped me on the way home because I was driving like this. I'm so nervous after the overtime. What do you think about it?
Are you asking me?
I am.
Okay, well, so what a nail biter. Honestly, going into that game, I really thought that there was a good chance we could have lost. But again, almost like a repeat of a few weeks ago in Buffalo. Buffalo was on their men and they were playing strong. And so every time they scored, we scored, and it was absolute excitement, and near the end it was absolute pandemonium. There were a ton of Buffalo fans in the stadium, which made it even more fun. Hearing them at one point in time doing their Buffalo chant, and it was fairly loud, So they came in droves, but it was good to see the numbers out as well. So both sides of the fence were represented. So I really need to apologize to Brandon Slade, because in the last podcast I said he's just a little bitty guy, and he is, but he did the work. He came in the when we really needed him, he was there. So, for a little itty bitty guy, he done good.
We can't stress that enough. He's a little itty bitty guy. That's great.
I know, he looks like he weighs like 100 pounds soaking wet.
But it was to break Sean Evans' ankles over in overtime as he turned completely inside out and backwards and upside down, if I saw that correctly.
Yeah.
Sean, you got anything to say about the game?
You know what? That was kind of the game I was more or less expecting. You got two of the top teams in the East going at it. A little surprised Toronto got by Buffalo. I mean, with their, firepower. But hey, when it comes to overtime, like you guys said with Slade, sometimes those unsung heroes come out when you least expect it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And if I remember correctly, there was one guy on the show last week who picked Toronto to beat Buffalo. He looked an awful lot like me. You got to believe again. You got to believe. And, when we're down a couple of goals, we're like I'm playing on the team. When they were down a couple of goals with a couple of minutes left, and I'm thinking, well, I'd already told somebody we were going to overtime at the beginning of the quarter when it was tied. They didn't make a liar of me. And I do believe that the entire arena jumped about a foot when that goal went in.
No kidding.
It could have been a playoff goal for all we knew, the way they hit the atmosphere.
It was probably one of the most exciting games I've seen them play all year at the arena. So, I mean, for me, being there, watching it, not seeing how strong they played in person in Buffalo, this was the game to be at.
I agree. And also having Chappie's ceremony at the beginning of the game, I thought that was very, very classy.
Yeah, it's classy.
And he did such a nice job with it. And Chappie was so elegant in speaking. Mm-hmm. For those of you who don't know it, Sandy Chapman retired this past year after a 17-year NLL career, 13 of which were with the Toronto Rock. And I believe it was 4 championships with the Rock. And, the organization, gave him a really nice send-off. So, Sue?
I'm not sure whether BR Live actually caught that ceremony or not.
When I talked to Jamie the next night in Rochester, apparently the Toronto Rock website will have it up. Whether it's up not now or not, it will be up. So
Right.
if you need to want to see it, it's going to be there. So
right. Well, I mean, I love Chappie, and I was, when you knew you had something when you had Chappie and Jesse Gamble together. They were, a really good team together on that side. And then when Jesse, had to look at his career, we had Chappie, but we knew that something was going to come. It was just a matter of time. So even though I knew that it was coming, I was still thinking, oh God, I wish he wouldn't. How about just one more year?
yeah, I think he took the bullet for to have a few other guys, younger guys, get in there, so that the guys like the Slates can get a chance. And we're no worse for wear here. Of course, you'd like to see his himself at the arena and his attitude, and there's that in just lightens up everything. But it's nice to see him still around.
Yeah. And he
All right.
was season seats, so he's at the game.
Yeah.
So he was a very eloquent speaker. I thought that everything he said was on point. It was just a really nice thing. It's something that I wasn't expecting to see.
Yeah, I didn't hear much about it beforehand either, so it's really, really cool.
I need a container or something.
All right, let's move down the road a little bit, way east, way south, and we'll go to Georgia for what most would be calling a shocker. Sean, you want to start us off on this one?
I don't know if it was 100% a shocker. Like, I had Georgia to win that one.
So did I. So did I.
The West just seems, the East just has the West's number this year. Like,
but that
more of a shocker
extreme,
was the score.
That extreme of a score, though.
Yeah, I think what more of the shocker was the score itself. I thought the Seals would put up more of a fight than that. Yeah, I mean, that was just the start of a long, long weekend for San Diego.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, though, is this what the playoffs are going to be like once Georgia gets rolling? Because to me, that's the thing that worries the Rock more than Buffalo.
I agree. I see Georgia as the team, the strong team in the East, and I mean, I was shocked at the score. I thought that it would be a lot closer. San Diego is normally fun to watch, but it was brutal to watch that game.
I did pick Georgia to win that game because I knew San Diego was due for a loss, but 17-10, no, I wouldn't have. On my wildest dreams, even having the odd gander during the Rock game, as I was trying to get my pulse back to a normal beat, and then I'm looking at this going, I don't get it. It's the strangest going 2-0 I've ever been.
I think all of my losses so far this year have come from Toronto and San Diego.
All right, can't bet with your heart. Can't bet with your heart.
Exactly.
All right, why don't we go to the next night and over to Rochester we go. And everybody was high on emotion of this big overtime win. The second 12-11 win in 2 weeks that Toronto pulled off. And here they go into Rochester, and the uniforms were there. But the team, not really.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sue?
Well, I thought if there was going to be a loss this weekend, I thought that they were going to have it at home. And I really thought, that the Rochester game, the Rock was going to take, without a doubt. And boy, was I in for a reality check on that one. It was a huge disappointment.
Well, one of the things that I think was that Toronto really never got started in that first half. They got a goal inside the first minute, and I thought, oh, great. Hey, look, this is going to be easy. And that was it for the first half. They did nothing. Absolutely nothing. Offensively, defensively, nothing. And Rose did nothing in that game. Nothing.
They had one
out of that game was they put Hutchcraft in for a whack of it, and he shined. He shined. He looked great in the 20 minutes he played. He stopped the bleeding, and in that time, Toronto's offense woke up, and they damn near won the game. Ironically, a goal that was called back that shouldn't have been called back because it was a freaking goal. And their explanation was even more stupid. Well, we couldn't figure it out ourselves, so we have to go back to the lead ref, and he said it was no goal because he wasn't anywhere near to play. Great. Wonderful. And that was the determining factor because that last goal was an empty net goal. Empty net wouldn't have been there if it was an 11-11 tie.
Right.
So right away, here we go again. And the Rock only needed to play 1.5 quarters of that game to almost walk away with it. So, and where I was sitting was right by the Rock box. So I had Jamie and the players all there too. And it was just a long evening there.
In the first half, there were warm bodies in the jerseys, but not much more.
I agree totally. There was nothing. 7-3 at the half or something like that. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and that was the one that I was sure they were going to win.
The only thing I have in Rochester's favor, and the same thing when Rochester came to Toronto back a few weeks ago, is they have been smart enough to take the top stars of the Arena Lacrosse League, and as you know, I follow them very closely, and they have given them opportunities since they traded away everybody else to play and prove that they belong in the National Lacrosse League, something that we've been saying for a long time, watching them in Arena Lacrosse League because they're so far ahead of everybody else. They're very far ahead. In the Arena Lacrosse League, you have 3 levels. You have here, ready for NLL or just came from it. Here, learning how to. And here, well, thanks for coming. And every team has got them. Well, but right now, Rochester has got a whole whack of these players who are top echelon players from the Arena Lacrosse League and also from MSL because, one of their biggest scorers is Mike Burke, captain of Brampton Excelsiors. You throw in Triolo, who was I believe the captain of the Oshawa Outlaws, and a few other players, and they're ready to go. And throw in leadership from Jameson when he's not whining to the refs, which is every whistle of every play, every game. Am I seeing a trend? Maybe, but
I think
no whining. No whining. Wait a minute. Yeah, no.
Is he complaining?
He's whining still. But Sean, you got anything about that Toronto Rochester game?
You know what? You make a good point. Like on paper, Rochester should be a much better team than this. With guys like Graham Hossack. Even Goodleaf is a little bit of a surprise. I thought he would be better than he is this year. I thought
Warren Hill was outstanding in that game.
Yes, that's true.
He absolutely saved them. That could have been 25-12 for Toronto.
Actually, pardon me. You're right. The Hill did start that game and did play well. And maybe he's unseated now. Goodleaf is the number 1 guy.
I'm really
surprised actually if they leave him in the expansion draft and they stay with Hill. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
Because this was the year where Goodleaf could have ripped apart and stolen that first job, where what he couldn't get in Buffalo and what he couldn't get in Rochester behind Vince. This was his now. And Rochester has, 4 wins now? And 1 is by Hill. So does that thing work? I'm thinking no.
No, and I'm guessing Hill's the younger guy.
Hill's also, again, is part of the Six Nations thing. I think Hill will travel out to Halifax with this team.
That's fair.
So I think there's a number of things playing in here that we don't really know, and we'll find out soon enough. But the post game party was good, but everybody was happy there, obviously because they got a win. But I I'm sorry on a night like that where as Jamie was saying before the game, Dominic, the owner, is they really do need the both wins because that would help a whole lot of things out for this week. And now Toronto has to win out and hope Buffalo loses.
Exactly.
Whereas they win that game and they still have control because the games in hand would still be in their favor.
Yeah.
They're their own worst enemy at times.
And I really think that had they removed Rose from the game earlier, I think that Riley Hutchcraft did a much better job, but they just put him in net way too late. The job is already done.
I agree as well. Nick is a good goalie. Nick is a good guy and all the rest of that. And Nick is the manager of track and blah, 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 blah. But, when it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Rochester took out Vince in the championship years when things weren't working right.
Right.
Buffalo has taken out Vince when it doesn't work right. Poulin has sat down when it's not working. Bold has sat down when it's not working. It goes everywhere in the league. Only in Toronto do we keep him in, and when it's not working, we just keep him in. And then if it's not working still, well, our adjustments are we're going to keep him in, and then we're going to keep him in. So I was actually shocked that Hutchcraft came in not for just one play, so that Nick could go tie his shoes. So we're very happy to see it, and I'm glad he got some time in not a meaningless game like last year when they put him in the Vancouver game that was, 214-11 at that time?
And just let him hang to dry.
Yeah, well, so it was nice to see him actually playing a meaningful game, and I hope they do more of that because, you know what, I've seen him play in junior, and I've seen him steal games for Mimico. I've seen him single-handedly, the reason why they went to the Minnow Cup 2 years ago, because there's no reason they should have beaten the Excelsiors, and they beat him. And Hutchcraft stood on his head in the last 2 games to do it. And
he stood on his head in that last as soon as he went in the net, he was standing on his head. I mean, I think that I'm hoping that his performance in Rochester actually, got Sawyer. I mean, I know Miller can see it, but I don't think that Miller is the one that decides who plays in net. That's Sawyer. So I really hope that Sawyer actually saw what the performance he put in for and gave him the due credit that he needed.
I agree. All right, let's move on. We're going to go to Calgary, Philadelphia, over to Wells Fargo. And Sean, why don't you start us off with this little ditty of a game?
Yeah, high scoring one for sure. I'm just kind of looking to get a refresher here. I mean, Calgary had a great first half. I hate to use the cliche. It was kind of a tale of two halves. Calgary's kind of let them back in it a little bit, but I mean, where do you start with Philadelphia and their issues?
We only have a couple of hours here. I can only keep us on for 8 hours. So,
yeah.
So. Did anybody realistically think that Philadelphia was going to win?
No.
I mean, so it was no shock.
But I didn't think that Philadelphia was going to lose that badly. But again, it came down to their goaltending situation is abysmal. They got rid of DeRuscio, who, in my opinion, wasn't a weak link. Buchan they kept, and he had a couple of games where he looked like he was an NL caliber goalie. That doesn't mean that he's a starter in the league. And now they have Abrams, who they just found out of nowhere. Well, Oshkowiecki or whatever. And Oshwegan, I believe it was. But, I've seen him play also, and he's decent also. But these are all backup goalies. Right. Philadelphia doesn't have a number one goalie. And that's astounding considering they had such high picks in both drafts.
Yeah.
To find something. And they didn't. And they haven't addressed it either. And they have a young defense who also doesn't have a clue half the time and makes a lot of mistakes, which isn't good when you have a really not good goalie that's not first string in your net. So these things could pound. The other thing is that they're the best 52-minute team in the league. They just don't have staying power.
I don't think they even play 52 minutes. Sorry, I can't say that. I think that they're.
I'm trying to be a little bit polite on this one, but they play 3 out of 4 quarters is what they do.
Yeah.
And 1 quarter in each and every game, they get their butts handed to them, and this game was no different. Yeah. And it happens game in, game out. I see that they, with a little bit different stuff, I see them having 5, 6, 7 wins. So, hopefully they make the adjustments. What do you think, Sean?
Well, and just kind of going back to your idea on the goaltender and having that young defense in front of him, like, what does that do for the confidence of a young goaltender when you have no help in front of you? You're destroying their future. Like, they have no chance now. You destroyed their confidence completely.
Yeah. I think Philadelphia had a similar has similar problems this year as Vancouver does. I mean, they both are struggling. The only difference between the two, in my opinion, is that Vancouver has always had the talent, and they seem to always trade it away to somebody. They don't recognize that it's talent when it's there, and they send them off to wherever, and suddenly these players just explode. Well, we didn't see any of that happening in Philadelphia. So, time to sort of rebuild and figure things out. It was one of those games that was really, really hard to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, let's move on. And Sue, you can take us on with San Diego's plight on the next version.
God.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist.
I thought
Rock SoCal was doing a little bit.
I really thought that the SoCal Rock were going to win, and if they didn't win one, if they didn't win both, they would at least win one. And I thought the second game was the one that they would likely win.
Yeah.
And
you got to give them credit for one thing is they didn't give up, because the fourth quarter they absolutely annihilated New England.
Right.
Unfortunately, they waited till the fourth quarter.
Right.
They'd already given up 13 in the first half, right?
But we had 3 guys injured on that game. Billings left in the fourth, hobbling off straight to the dressing room. Didn't see him again. So it was like, okay, their firepower just got cut in half, and so we haven't seen San Diego banged up yet. And so this was our first opportunity to see what happens when someone gets injured. And now they have, I don't know that Garrett Billings is necessarily as injured as Buchanan and Stotts, but it was not a good sign to see them, go off and not come back. So I didn't think that the game would end up the way that it was. It was a disappointment. And I bet on both of the games with the Seals, and I got another reality check. So they just had a bad time on the road. So we'll see what happens this week.
All right, Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, Susan, I think you're right as well. I thought that, I did not see San Diego going 0-2 this weekend. I thought New England was going to be that victim, especially now with, the Rush nipping at the heels for first place. Losing guys like Billings and Stotts, that could have huge implications down the road if they're out any length of time.
Yeah, I agree. And, with playoffs coming so soon, it gets a little bit worrisome, doesn't it?
Yes. And even their next game at home, we don't have, as far as I'm aware, and I've been trying to watch everything, I have not heard any news out of San Diego about Stotts, nor have I heard anything about Buchanan. And they need those guys. They absolutely need those guys. And so they're going home this weekend after 2 abysmal games on the road. And they do well at home, and they have been doing well at home. But how well are they going to go this weekend when we know 2 guys for sure are out and one's still a question? So they got banged up really badly.
Yeah, yeah. You can't, the league has always been that way. We'll find out in a couple of weeks' time what happened to Veltman in the 2006 game. No, they're not exactly right. They're not exactly on the ball all the time with our league.
Now we'll find out after the jersey retired.
Coaches play those games too. Coaches play those games too, and not releasing much information right until the game time, just because you don't want to show your hand, who's going to be on the floor, who's not.
That's true. When you see a guy who will be wearing a boot later, but he's standing on holding himself up with the boards just to look like he's about ready to play.
Yeah, exactly.
Little psychological game, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, I still hope that they're not serious injuries.
I don't think so, because something like that, if it were serious, I think that we would hear something. Somewhere, somehow, something would be said. But as for nicks and cuts and bruises and things that are, game time questions, I don't think they're going to play their hand on that. But something major, it's really hard to, stop a hospital report.
Yeah.
But anyways, Sean, we're going to your neck of the woods there. We're going to head to the Saskatchewan-Colorado game. And my question to you is, where is the scoring gone?
You know what? That was a goaltending duel. And a bit of I guess not much of a surprise. Ever since Adam Schutt has come in goal in replace of Evan Kirk, he has played well. He's surprised a lot of people. And he stood toe-to-toe with probably one of the best goaltenders in the league in Dylan Ward. How Schutt didn't even get a start in that game is beyond me. It was just a tale of goaltending in this game.
The other thing that I really want to notice on this is that Schutt has to get some credit for the way he's playing, because he really, how many minutes did he have under his belt the entire season? What, 2 or 3 minutes?
Yeah, give or take.
Much, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So I think the kid's doing an extraordinary job. He went in at a time that, who thought that the goalie was going to get hurt of all of the players, that was the last one. I didn't see him ever getting a chance in net, and he's done a phenomenal job, and he really needs to get the credit for that. If people aren't standing up and saying, hey, great job, then, but I also believe that he's one of the players that is not going to be protected. So, people that are watching him now, when the draft comes in the summer, they can see that this guy really put up. So, I think he's going to be someone really solid for somebody that really needs him.
Now, Keenan is a very, very smart guy, and I think what would happen if they still had Tyler Carlson counting to 5 on the bench? What would the Saskatchewan season look then?
You know what? It's funny because I know a lot of people were not too happy with losing Carlson because he's a great teammate. You see kind of him patting guys on the back. At the beginning of the game, he's the guy running out on the floor. He's a great teammate. He kind of got unseated by.
I watched him in Brampton. I watched Brampton be a great teammate. And you know what? Brampton didn't win very many games.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, Keenan's a smart guy. He did his research, saw this kid can play, and he mentioned after Carlson got cut, Schutt's been on a practice roster for a year now. He's shown, this commitment to this team. We got to give him a shot.
Right. The other thing I want to say about Keenan and himself, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been watching this, but I have. He's changed the roster position, and I wonder, whether or not this has to do with how many forwards he can protect, because you see a couple of those guys now playing transition. Okay, so is this a way, if he puts them in transition for a number of games, can he now protect those forwards as transition players and still have his firepower? I mean, I look at it, and he's, of all of the teams, he's the only one that I see doing this, and it's a smart move.
Yeah, I agree, and it's a good catch, because I didn't catch that either. But yeah, to think about it that way, yes, if they're listed as transition, they're saved as transition. Even if their career was of being as a forward, if they played this year as transition, then they're transition.
Right, but they started out in forward, and now they're playing transition. They only have 5 that they can save as forwards. They have what, 4 and a goalie, or 5?
It's 5 and a goalie.
Three. They can do either defense or transition.
It's 5-5 and a goalie, or it can be 5 and 6.
Right. So in this particular case, even though they're forwards, he's now playing them in transition. It gives him the opportunity to keep the strength going in his lineup. It's all the same solid guys, but they're not in the same positions as they were. And I think that's a really smart way to play. And I'm not sure that any other team has actually picked up on that. I just really think that what he's doing is smart.
And he's a guy who has the foresight like that. Because even before, Philly and San Diego came in the league, you could see Keenan just starting to stockpile draft picks.
Yeah.
He knew expansion was coming, so he knew he had to get younger. He needed picks. And now he's got how many picks coming up in the next few years?
Oh, he'll never be in trouble.
No, I think he's got picks until 2022, if I didn't miss my guess.
Yeah. And then some that are conditional.
Yeah. So even more coming.
Don't forget the conditional ones.
So really, Georgia and Saskatchewan own the drafts for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Well, I think that
that's a lot of the talk. Really, sorry, Sue.
Sorry, I think the transition move is really good for next year, but I think they're still doing really well.
Yeah, and another person who's gotten a second wind is Kyle Rubish. He has just found another gear after a couple of maybe off years. He's just been playing like the Kyle Rubish that we'd expect.
Yeah, he's had an awesome season.
Yeah, there's no more just waiting for a Rubish goal, because there's more than a few now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big Rubish party from last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was one of, when I did my fantasy pick this year, he was one of the players I had on my team. So, I really like his performance this year has been outstanding.
All righty. Well, that brings us to the end of last week's games and all the trials and tribulations thereof. I guess that'll bring us to this week's games. Any news this week, Sean, that's been going on?
Nothing that I've heard anything too big. I don't know if you guys have heard anything out your guys' way.
Sue?
I haven't heard anything. I've been watching to see if there was any first of all, I was watching to see whether there was any kudos given to Hutchcraft from Sawyer after the post games and stuff like that. And there wasn't a whole lot of conversation. We haven't heard a lot about what's going on in San Diego. Games that we thought were going to win didn't happen. Games that we, thought we were going to lose, won. It was an upside down week in plays for last week. But I haven't heard anything that tells me or gives me hope that San Diego is going to win at home.
Well, and that's going to be the game this week, is that Friday night game, because that's going to be for first place in the West.
Exactly.
That's strange, because just a couple of weeks ago, it was it was Saskatchewan and Vancouver. And really, if Vancouver would have found a way, that could have been a game for fourth. So So it's funny how this works.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't take much to go from worst to first.
Yeah. So
But
Friday night is just filled with games, and of course, it's one of those things that I have as a pet peeve is that you got all these games happening on Friday night, and I can't watch them all, and I don't like spoilers, so I'm not going to follow the game because I want to focus on the game that I'm at. So Toronto's playing New England at home this week. I'm taking the Rock, although I don't think it's going to be a little too close for comfort for me. I don't think for a second that the dynamic pairing of Crawford and LeBlanc is going to make it easy for any of the Rock players. So, I mean, they've had a hard time controlling those two guys. And if Downing as well, I think that this is going to be an interesting game. It's, flip the coin on this one. I'm not sure, but the Rock absolutely has to show up in uniform, ready to play, because winning is not an option this week.
I agree. Sean?
Losing is not an option, I should say.
Yeah, no, I'm on board. Like I can see Toronto winning that game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. Again, New England's one of those teams that all season I can't get a handle on. They just don't have much consistency. Either they're really good or they're really bad.
Yeah.
And then all the drama with Callum Crawford, you just never know.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have the Rock on this one too. I look at it also that the emotions will be high because we have the Jim Veltman jersey retirement beforehand, and I just think that there's just going to be a whole lot of energy in that building, energy for Scoop, energy for the team. I think the fans, as they proved last game, they're going to be alive, and I think they're going to be the seventh man out there. And on paper, I don't think New England matches up with Toronto. But then again, before Toronto's offense went on vacation for 5.5 games, they were handling them. Even playing not so great on that Sunday afternoon, they were handling them.
But something happened in New England for Toronto that they were MIA.
Well, the first quarter they were nowhere to be found. The third quarter they were the only ones who scored, so New England wasn't anywhere to be found in the third either. Yeah. But they absolutely just they took the bus and left after 3, and they weren't seen for almost 6 weeks.
I actually thought they were going out for beers.
They might have been doing it on the bench for all you know. But it just didn't. Well, the biggest key I think here in this game, and stop me if I'm wrong, is to keep their composure. Yeah. There's a few reasons why. Number one, penalty trouble in the first place for Toronto is always death to them. But with the Cree and Crawford situation, if they're stupid enough to try and react to something that the league didn't do, then they deserve everything they get. They need to keep quiet, mind their P's and Q's, focus on winning a game because they need to win both and hope that Buffalo loses one to get a home playoff game. And if they want that, they need to be on their best behavior. I
just don't see Cree as being someone that's going to retaliate against Crawford. I just don't see it happening.
Whether it's Cree or somebody else that wants to make a name, anything, they can't afford anybody to be sitting in that box for 5 minutes.
But I think they want the win more than they want retaliation.
Oh, I agree.
In regards to retaliation, if guys like Callum or Crawford are going to take cheap shots at you, turn your back. Don't get involved. Don't take that stupid penalty that you didn't have to take.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Also, so that's my my road to success is to stay the heck out of the penalty box.
So, are we all picking the Rock to win?
Toronto, yeah. All right. Why don't we go down the road a little bit? We're over down into Colorado, where Rochester's going to visit Colorado. Sean, why don't you start us off with that one?
You know what? I think I got to go with Colorado on this one. Rochester's got his problems. Yeah, they got that big win this past week. you know what? Colorado's improved a lot since the beginning of the year. They've got that young talent, and it's Killam, I believe, who's come in now. I think Colorado has a shot actually beating Rochester.
Yeah. I have got Colorado in this one too. And I think that finally Colorado has their groove back in McLaughlin, Lee, Rouet, and Killen. But I think that not that I expect Vitarelli to do a whole lot during the game. I think he's there to feed. So I really think that this is going to be Colorado's game. So it's tusks up for me, buddy.
Well, me knowing that I'm always the different egg around here, I am going with Rochester because it wasn't one game; it's been 2 games now. They've looked pretty good, and that's since they put the Arena Lacrosse League guys in. And I talked about it earlier, is that these guys plus the Mike Burks and have been meshing very well with the Jamesons and the Jacksons and a few of the other players. If they have Warren Hill in there, they might have solid goaltending in there as well. Defensively, not too bad either. Now, the other point is that Colorado, I don't think they're going to be moving up or down. And I think their biggest key is they want to stay healthy heading into the playoffs. Yeah. So I don't think they're going to go into much running and gunning and, trying to do anything too crazy. So I think that this is the one that Rochester can actually come and steal. And then we start talking about, well, why couldn't they do this earlier?
Well, yeah, I don't think that they were in the groove with McLaughlin, Lee, Rouet, and Killen. But I also just want to say here, I think that even though I've picked Colorado to win, I still think that on face-off opportunities, I think that Withers is going to take it without a doubt. He's going to give the Rochester team the most chances. Whether they can cash in on those chances is another question. But if between Dan Coates and Withers, I'd say I put my money on Withers.
Yeah, well, when you can get the possession 75% of the time,
exactly,
good things are going to happen. Like, it's funny that Philadelphia's got Baptiste and Rochester's got Withers, the 2 best face-off men in the league, and they're both not winning. But it's not from having not possessions. They're having lots of possessions.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so you guys are going with Colorado. I'm going with Rochester. Okay, I can live with that. I'm good.
Good luck to you, buddy.
I'm good with that. Wolf, that's me. All right, over to San Diego. Saskatchewan versus San Diego, and what I think is going to be the game of the week. Sean?
I got to agree with you. Not much to pick between the 2 of these teams. I mean, you just look at the last time these 2 teams met in San Diego. It was a 1-goal game, and it really could have gone either way. Maybe I just got to put on my drink the green Kool-Aid a little bit and go with the Rush. They're just on a roll right now, and they're starting to look like the Rush that we've seen the past couple of years, where they can take over games. The question is, can they put a full 60 minutes together?
Yeah.
Sue, what do you think?
Well, I've got the Rush to win this weekend as well, primarily because the Seals are pretty, my so-called rock or the Seals are pretty banged up at the moment, whereas the Rush are fairly healthy. I don't know that there's, outside of Evan Kirk being injured, I don't know that there's anybody else that's hurting at this point in time. And to be honest with you, Adam Schutt's doing a phenomenal job. And I don't think that anybody expected him to do the job that he's doing. But I have to give him credit. I think that I would say that Frankie is maybe a bit stronger in net versus Schutt. But the only reason I say that is the total numbers of minutes that Schutt has played against Frankie. If you can't compare the 2 because he's been in, a fraction of the games. So, but I still think they have, a healthier team. I just think that they at home, regardless of what their record is at home, I still see the Rush winning this weekend. And I do believe, I agree with you, Sean, I think it will be the game of the week.
Well, once again, here's Lone Wolf, and I'm really surprised that Susan is not with me on this one. I actually am picking San Diego, and my reasoning is that they just came off the worst weekend in franchise history. Granted, it's not a very long history, but they did, and they want to right this ship, and they want to right it quickly. And Saskatchewan, while they have been controlling games, they really haven't been blowing teams out like they have in years past. And that's a little worrisome to me when you get a team like San Diego that can score.
But let's be honest here for a second. They have split the series, so they both have won. Saskatchewan wants the win just as much as San Diego does.
Of course.
It's about who's healthier at this point.
You also, when we got a game that's this close, I usually go with a home team.
Yeah.
And it's in San Diego.
Yeah.
And seventh man goes to San Diego.
And their seventh man has been really, really strong, but are they strong enough to replace guys like Austin Stotts and guys like Buchanan? I mean, that says a lot for the team. I mean, Buchanan and Stotts have put up a lot of numbers for them, and they're going to be missing in this game. I predict they're not going to be playing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Sue.
I'm questionable on Philly.
I'm with you, Sue, especially Stotts. Not taken away from the other two, but if your young star like that is on the sidelines against a pretty veteran-laden team in the rush, it's going to be a difficult time. By no means is it not going to be an easy time. It's going to be a one-goal game either way, whoever wins, I think.
Yeah. I think it's been a close game. I think it will be an exciting game. I think it might be the same kind of game that we saw in Toronto last weekend. But it's a matter of, they have a series split. Can they pull off the win? It's a simple thing. And either has the ability to do it. It's just who's going to take it,
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. And but again, one goal game wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. But I just have this funny feeling. I had a funny feeling last weekend when San Diego lost, right? And this time around, I think they might win.
This
really,
is
no science involved in that at all.
This is the first game I have taken that I haven't picked the Seals. This is the first time all season that I haven't taken the Seals, but I was clobbered last weekend.
Lax Philly Live people, you heard it here first. We have Sue Alton betting against the San Diego Seals. What more can possibly happen this week? You heard it here first. All right, why don't we move along? So that brings us to is it Georgia, Calgary, yeah? Mm-hmm. Sean, you want to start?
Yep. I got to take Georgia. Calgary is one of those teams that just can't find any type of consistency. They're either really good or they're really bad. They're going to lay an egg on you. Yeah, I just don't know what else to say. I mean, they found a little bit of, they found a little bit with Dixon again. But when you got, Lyle Thompson going, if you can get Mike Poulin going in goal, I just don't see Calgary beating them.
Yeah. Sue, what do you think?
I've got Swarm in this game as well. When you put together Randy Stotts, Lyle Thompson, even Miles, in there, Shane Jackson and Zed Williams, they all can contribute, and they've been pretty consistent. As far as performance, those guys have been pretty consistent, and I think Poulin has been too. So I think that I also believe that Del Bianco and Poulin are pretty evenly matched from my perspective. But I really see the D having a challenge protecting the net and watching Stotts, Katoni, Jackson, Lyle Thompson, Zed Williams. I mean, it's more than they bargained for. So I think that the Swarm is going to take it, and I think that Calgary is going to step into a Hornets nest here.
I think you're right, Sue.
Well, once again, gotta have somebody on the other side, right?
Just to keep things interesting.
Just as why not? I got Calgary, and my thinking is this: like, yes, we have we all know the Swarm thing. We all know it. We all know it. Mind you, Randy Stotts has been too busy being in a Twitter battle with Bill O'Brien this week, saying that Bill isn't quite enough for him. So we'll leave that to them and their little quarrel. But the one thing that Calgary is a grinding team, and the one thing that can stop the Swarm are grinders. You're not going to run with them because they're a bunch of gazelles. You're not going to try and outscore them because they can score 20, 30 goals if they really put their minds to it, I think. But if you grind them, they don't usually react very well, to hard hitting and keeping them in close proximity. Del Bianco can steal a game for you. You have really good defense in the guys of Jack Cummings and a few guys like that. But I think if you start slowing down the Katonis, the Williams, the Thompsons, they're going to get their points. You know they are, and you're banking on that, and your game plan has that allotted to it. But when you start getting Dixon and the boys going too, you're going to start seeing some highlight reel goals the other way as well. And I just think at home, the Calgary ekes this one out, and it's a 1-goal game.
I think it'll be a good game.
Oh, yeah.
The beauty of parity in this league is it's, one game after another are games that you're on the edge of your seat. We get very few, we do get them because we got them last week, but very few blowouts.
Yeah.
We
had the blowouts last week too. The blowouts were both against San Diego. They did happen.
Yeah, well, San Diego has to have a bad week every now and again, right?
Exactly.
Not every. No,
that's what found this year. That's what found this year is it's so tough to pick just because there's so many good teams this year.
All right, let's move on. So we have Philadelphia at Saskatchewan, right?
Yep.
Well then, Sean, you'll be there live and in color, so why don't you pick it up for this there?
We're just talking about parity.
Well,
I don't think this one's going to be.
Well, so much for that. We do have the Sunday game.
Yeah.
We have that one.
I don't think this one's going to be even close. When you got an offense with Mark Matthews, Ryan Keenan, Curtis Knight, Ben McIntosh, and you got a goaltender like Buchan, and that defense that Philadelphia has, it's going to be a long, long night. I got to take the rational landslide on this one.
Yeah.
Sue?
I'm with you all the way, Sean. I think that the Rush are going to slap those wings right off of Philly. I mean, this is a no contest game.
You really got to hold a, you got to be a little bit more precise in your analysis. This vague thing that's, I'm trying to pick out what team you're going for here, Sue.
Well, they'll slap some sense into them. How's that? I just don't think that Philly's going to show up to play 60 minutes. They're traveling from Philly to Saskatchewan. No, it shouldn't be that gruesome. But the Rush are I think, mentally and physically stronger than anyone on Philly. I'm not sure that I could say that for Philly. I mean, they just on paper. I mean, even the records. You got 3-11 for Philly, and you got 7-6. I mean, you wouldn't have me putting a penny down on Philly.
And I mean, to add to that, Sue, they're stepping into the SaskTel Center.
Yeah.
They're not a good team going into probably one of the most hostile environments. I don't see how they can win it.
No.
Well, I can't. I'd love to go against y'all, but I can't. Sorry.
Okay. Hey, we're one.
I can't do it. I'm sorry. I think that Saskatchewan scores early and often. You can go from top to bottom. You want to start with goaltending? Saskatchewan's got it. You want to go defense? Saskatchewan's got it. Transition? Saskatchewan's got it. Offense? Saskatchewan's got it. Trainers? Saskatchewan's got it. Owners, whatever. Doesn't make a difference. Coaching? Well, you're going to put Keenan against Day?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to put Keenan against Day? It took Keenan to get rid of the Day Edmonton days. So, yeah. Let's just put a big mark on that one, and we'll just move on. And
I just want to say here, I think that this will be the blowout game of the week.
Probably of the year.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure about year, but it's good. It's going to be ugly for Philly. It's going to be ugly.
Here's the really cool thing. Once Philadelphia is finished taking an ass whooping from Saskatchewan, they get to go over to Vancouver, who is sitting there watching the game over in their downtown condo. They're all in one condo because it cost $1 million for a 700 square foot little condo. So they all sat in one or stood. And they're waiting over at Rogers Arena for this battered and bruised Philadelphia team to come to Vancouver. Saying that, Sean, what do you think is going to happen? Philadelphia win.
I think I got to go with Vancouver. And you know what? I know, shocker, right?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. You could have knocked me over with a feather on that one. Sue, what do you think?
Okay, well,
I think it's obviously going to be a closer game. You know what?
You got to be closer than the Saskatchewan game. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? Vancouver's not a good team. I still think they are an improved. I still believe they are an improved team over the stealthy years. Not that much improved, but they are.
Oh, I agree, and I think they have a defense that shines now. So, Sue, what do you think?
Okay, well, I've got the Warriors in this one as well. Saskatchewan is going to hand their ass on, to them on a plate. They're going to walk out of the Saskatchewan arena with their tail cut between their legs. It's hard. Like, what do you say about these two teams? They both have abysmal records. It's like it's between picking worse and worser. I don't know. It's I honestly, for this one, I think this will be the snooze fest for the games all weekend, and I never fall asleep on games. I watch every single one of them, and I have to say, last weekend, the Philadelphia game, I fell asleep. So I'm pretty sure.
Nothing says I enjoyed your game like, well, I had a really good sleep during the third and fourth. Thank you very much.
So I got to say, wake me up before it's over, because I don't think they have a chance. I'm going with Warriors in this one. It's going to be, no matter what, it's going to be, I don't think it will be exciting. I don't think that there's anybody that's going to explode in this game. I don't know. To me, it's going to be a snooze fest. If I fall asleep on this game, I won't be surprised.
Has there ever been a game where both teams have lost? We might very well have one now.
Okay, well, they're going to go to overtime there, or double overtime until somebody finally scores, right?
It's probably some right?
Well, I hope there's not union problems, because the game may go to 3 or 4 in the morning. The NHL has nothing on us. 14 overtimes and it's still 0-0. I have to admit, though, I am going with the Warriors, only because I think that their defense will shut down whatever offense Philadelphia's got, the Crowleys and things like that. But Vancouver can score. they've proven it this year. They can score. And on a weaker defense, I am sure that they can score. So that being said, that covers all of our games for the week. So, any parting thoughts, Sean?
I don't think so. I'm just really looking forward to this Friday night game with Rush and the Seals. I think that's going to be an outstanding game. You're going to see a lot of great lacrosse, and even better, it's going to be for first place in the West, as we said before.
Sue, what do you think? Any last parting thoughts?
Normally what happens for me after the Friday night games is I get in my car and I speed home as fast as I can get here so that I can watch whatever other games are happening on Friday night. Challenge that we have with this weekend or on Friday night in Toronto is not only is it the Jim Veltman ceremony happening before the game, but it's also fan appreciation after the game. And in all the years I've been in, watching lacrosse and we've had the players and we've had access to the players, but I need Schreiber to sign my jersey, so I'm going to be in that long lineup. He can decide which breast he's going to sign on, but he's going to get one. So
if you're listening, Tom, get a really fine Sharpie, would you know?
Yes, and hope his handwriting is really light. I can be this kid's mother, but I'm going to be in that lineup. I'm going to get my bobblehead signed, and I'm going to get my shirt signed. And there's no way that you can take me away on that Friday night game to get home before Schreiber autographs my jersey on me. It's not coming off, I'll tell you that. So I'll walk away with the jersey signed, the bobblehead signed, and hopefully a picture. So I'll tell you whether I'm 3 for 3.
I think you will be. Tom is a really nice guy, so he'll be happy to be signing breasts and thighs and other wings and whatever else you want. And
I can't help but look at what you've got in the background there. I got to look at Schreiber all this podcast. So thank you for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And for those of you not paying any attention, there it is.
How can you miss it?
They're live. My parting thoughts are, you guys, let's go to the games.
Yes.
It's one thing to sit there, watch it BR live, and it's great, and it's it's convenient, but there's nothing like being there live. And now that they're coming down to crunch time and playoff time, you definitely want to get to your local arenas. Support your teams.
Yeah.
Because, man, they give everything.
Yeah.
If you think watching the NHL playoffs is wild, nothing. I can't watch a full game of that.
Yeah.
I live it, love it, and enjoy it. It doesn't matter. Box lacrosse, love it. Can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I want to thank Sean Slate and I want to thank Sue Walton for taking their time with us. And this is Lax Philly Live. And we have been live. So every Thursday, we're going to be doing this. And pretty soon, we're going to be joining from the coast with San Diego. And Callum McClurg will be joining us. And we're going to just get bigger and bigger and better. So keep tuning in. We're going to have a lot of fun. And it's been our pleasure serving you.